Hey, that seat belongs to my real daughter. Get up! That seat belongs to my real daughter.
The sound of the chair scraping across the hardwood floor was loud enough to silence 20 people. I had barely wrapped my fingers around the backrest when a heavy hand landed on my shoulder. Before I understood what was happening, I was shoved. Hard. My balance disappeared. The chair slid away. My feet tangled beneath me. I crashed onto the polished wooden floor, my elbow striking first, then my hip. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. Every Christmas ornament hanging from the 12-foot tree seemed to tremble from the sound. For one endless moment, no one moved. No one spoke. I looked up from the floor. My stepfather, Richard, stood over me with one hand still resting on the chair he had stolen away. His expensive Christmas sweater was perfectly straight. His smile was calm, calculated. He looked around the table before speaking loudly enough for every guest to hear. That seat belongs to my real daughter. A nervous chuckle escaped one of his business friends before dying in the silence. His biological daughter, Brianna, sat 3 chairs away. She stared at her plate. She didn't tell him to stop. She didn't tell me to get up either. She simply looked away. Richard pointed to
You
a
can
folding
sit
chair
over there.
sitting alone beside the living room window. You can sit over there. Like I was an afterthought. Like I was hired help. Like I wasn't the girl who had spent nearly half her life calling this house home. The room became painfully still. My mother inhaled sharply. Richard. He didn't even look at her.
I said the seat belongs to my daughter.
To my daughter. Then his eyes settled back on me. I thought I made that clear. I slowly pushed myself off the floor. My palms burned. My knee throbbed. But none of it hurt as much as hearing that word again. Real. Not stepdaughter. Not Leora. Not family. Just not real. I brushed invisible dust from my sweater. No one offered a hand. No one asked if I was hurt. 20 people watched me stand there like I was interrupting dinner by existing. Mom finally found her voice. Leora, sweetheart, maybe just sit by the window tonight. Tonight. As though humiliation came with an expiration date. I looked at her. Not angry. Not crying. Just disappointed. You watched him push me. She swallowed. Please. Her eyes darted toward the guests. Don't make a scene. Those 4 words landed harder than Richard's shove. Don't make a scene. For years those words had shaped my life. When Richard ignored my birthdays. Don't make a scene. When family photos were taken without me. Don't make a scene. When he introduced me as my wife's daughter. Don't make a scene. When he gave Brianna a brand new car for college while telling me scholarships built character. Don't make a scene. Every Christmas. Every Thanksgiving. Every birthday. Every family vacation. The peace always mattered more than I did. I looked around the table. Richard was already carving the turkey as though nothing had happened. His business partners smiled awkwardly. His cousins avoided eye contact. An elderly aunt suddenly became fascinated with her mashed potatoes. Even Brianna remained silent. Not because she hated me, because silence had always benefited her. She had spent years living inside the sunshine Richard created while I learned to survive in the shadow. I finally spoke. You could have simply asked me to move. Richard laughed. It wasn't loud. It was worse. It was dismissive. You never seem to understand unless someone is firm. Firm. That was his word for publicly shoving someone onto the floor. Mom hurried toward me. Her smile looked painful. Come into the kitchen.
Come into the kitchen.
I don't need the kitchen.
don't need the kitchen.
Leora, I need my mother.
I need my
Her
mother.
face crumbled. Richard sighed dramatically. Oh, for heaven's sake. He sliced another piece of turkey. Must every holiday become about you? I looked at him for several seconds. For the first time in 13 years. I really looked. The perfectly pressed shirt. The expensive watch. The polished shoes. The confident smile. Everything about him depended on one thing. Control. He controlled conversations. Money. Schedules. Vacations. Opinions. Even where everyone sat at Christmas dinner. Especially where everyone sat. Because control wasn't about chairs. It was about reminding people exactly where they belonged. And according to Richard, I belonged nowhere. Something inside me became strangely calm. The hurt was still there. The humiliation was still fresh. But another feeling quietly rose above them both. Clarity. The kind that only arrives after years of pretending something broken can still be repaired. I reached for my coat hanging beside the front door. Mom followed immediately. Please don't leave. I slipped my arms into the sleeves. You watched him push me. I know. And you asked me not to embarrass him. I just wanted everyone to enjoy Christmas. I stared at her. What about me? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Behind us, laughter slowly returned to the dining room. Someone proposed a toast. Glasses clinked together. Richard's voice filled the house. Merry Christmas, everyone. The guests answered together. Merry Christmas. No one came after me. No one called my name. No one asked if I was all right. As I reached the front door, Richard spoke one last time without turning around. If you leave now, he paused. Don't expect sympathy later. I rested my hand on the doorknob. Then I answered without looking back. I'm not leaving because I want sympathy. The room fell silent again. I slowly opened the door. Cold December air rushed inside. I stepped onto the porch. Then I said the words that would change every one of our lives. I'm leaving because I've finally stopped asking permission to be treated like family. The door closed behind me. The muffled sounds of Christmas dinner disappeared. Snow drifted gently beneath the porch light. My hands trembled, not from the cold, but from 13 years of swallowing words that had finally found their way into the world. I walked to my car alone. I didn't know exactly what I would do next. I only knew one thing with absolute certainty. By tomorrow morning, Richard would discover that pushing me out of a chair had been the smallest mistake he made that Christmas. The drive home should have taken 23 minutes. It took nearly 40. Not because of traffic, because every red light gave me another chance to replay what had happened. Richard's hand, the chair, the floor, my mother's voice. Don't make a scene. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Outside, neighborhoods glowed with Christmas lights. Children laughed in front yards. Families gathered around dining tables. Every house looked warm. Mine felt farther away with every mile. For years, I'd convinced myself things weren't as bad as they seemed. Richard never hit me. He never screamed. He never left bruises anyone could photograph. His favorite weapon wasn't violence. It was humiliation. Quiet. Calculated. Always with witnesses. Always subtle enough that if I complained, I'd sound dramatic. The first time he made me feel like I didn't belong, I was 13. Mom had married him only 4 months earlier. I was still learning where everything was in our new house. One Saturday morning, I wandered into the kitchen and poured myself a bowl of cereal. Richard walked in wearing a golf shirt and smiled. At first, I thought he was being friendly. Then he opened the refrigerator, closed it, looked at my cereal. You should ask before eating. I frowned. It's cereal. It isn't yours. I thought. You thought wrong. When Mom came downstairs, she laughed awkwardly. He just likes people asking first. From then on, I asked before opening the refrigerator, before using the washing machine, before inviting a friend over, before turning on the television. Eventually, I asked permission just to exist. By the time I turned 16, Richard didn't even need to say anything anymore. One raised eyebrow was enough. One disappointed sigh. One look. I would immediately apologize. Even when I hadn't done anything wrong. I pulled into my driveway. The porch light switched on automatically. No one was waiting. No messages taped to my door. No Christmas miracle. Only silence. Inside, my little townhouse felt strangely peaceful. The tiny artificial Christmas tree in the corner blinked softly. I'd decorated it myself 2 weeks earlier. Richard once called it cute, the way adults compliment children's drawings. As though nothing I owned could ever be taken seriously. I hung my coat, kicked off my shoes, walked into the kitchen. Only then did I notice my phone vibrating across the counter. Mom. Decline. A second later. Richard. Decline. Then Brianna. Decline. The calls kept coming, one after another, like they had suddenly remembered I existed. I turned the phone face down. If 13 years of silence hadn't deserved an explanation, neither did one evening of mine. I filled the kettle. The familiar whistle soon echoed through the quiet house. As hot water poured into my mug, memories surfaced one after another. My high school graduation. Richard had spent 45 minutes helping Brianna pin flowers onto her gown. When it was my turn, he checked his watch. We're running late. There were no pictures of just the two of us. College orientation. Mom wanted to come. Richard said gasoline was expensive. The following weekend, he drove Brianna 3 hours to visit a friend. Christmas 3 years earlier. Everyone exchanged gifts. Richard handed Brianna the keys to a new SUV. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a bookstore gift card. $25. He smiled proudly. I figured books are your thing. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, because crying would have ruined Christmas. Again, my tea had already gone cold before I took the first sip. Then something caught my attention. A cardboard storage box tucked beneath the dining table. I hadn't opened it since helping Mom organize paperwork during the summer. She hated filing documents. Richard hated paperwork. So somehow, it always became my responsibility. I carried the box onto the table. Inside were folders, insurance papers, property taxes, home repairs, warranty documents, mortgage statements, years of receipts. I smiled faintly. Richard loved telling everyone he handled everything. The truth? He barely knew where the paperwork was kept. Mom trusted me because I was organized. Richard took credit because people believed him. Without thinking, I opened the first folder. Heating system repairs. Paid by my mother. Roof replacement. Financed under my mother's name. Property taxes. Withdrawn from my mother's account. Interesting. I opened another folder. The pattern repeated. Again. And again. And again. The deeper I looked, the more one uncomfortable truth emerged. Richard wasn't the provider everyone believed he was. He managed appearances. Mom carried the weight. I wasn't searching for dirt. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. I was trying to understand. By midnight, nearly every document covered my dining table. Sticky notes marked dates. Colored tabs separated expenses. A legal pad filled with observations. Then I noticed something that made me stop writing. There were 3 unopened envelopes addressed to my mother. Certified mail. From earlier that year. They had never been opened. I stared at them for several seconds. My stomach tightened. Richard collected the mail every afternoon. If these had remained sealed, had he hidden them? Or had Mom simply trusted him enough never to ask? Either answer frightened me. I carefully placed the envelopes aside. Those belonged to her. She deserved to open them herself. My phone buzzed again. 31 missed calls. 2 voicemails. 1 text from Brianna. Please call Mom. She's crying. Another text appeared seconds later. From Richard. You embarrassed this family tonight. I read it once, then smiled for the first time all evening. Not because it was funny, because for the first time, his words carried no weight. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't rush to apologize. I simply deleted the message. Then I opened my laptop. Not to argue. Not to post online. Not to expose him. Instead, I searched for one person. A family attorney my mother had used years ago after my grandmother passed away. His office opened at 9 o'clock the next morning. I wrote down the address. Closed the laptop. Looked around the room filled with papers. For 13 years, I'd been trying to earn a place at Richard's table. Tonight I finally understood something. I had been sitting at the wrong table all along. Tomorrow, I wasn't going back to ask for my chair. I was going to uncover the truth my mother had never been allowed to see. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the chair slam against the floor. Richard's voice echoed through my mind. That seat belongs to my real daughter. By 6:30 the next morning, I was already dressed. The stack of folders sat neatly inside a black leather briefcase. For years, I had organized my mother's paperwork because she hated dealing with bills. Richard loved telling everyone he handled everything. Looking at the documents now, I realized he had only handled the image. The responsibility had belonged to my mother all along. At exactly 9 o'clock, I parked outside a small brick office on the north side of town. The gold plaque beside the entrance read, Martin and Associates, Family and Estate Law. I took one deep breath before walking inside. The receptionist smiled warmly. Can I help you? I have an appointment with Mr. Martin. She nodded. He's expecting you. A few moments later, the office door opened. A man in his late 60s stepped out. Silver hair. Kind eyes. The same calm expression I remembered from years ago when he helped my mother settle my grandmother's estate. Leora. He smiled gently. It's been a long time. It has. He motioned toward his office. Come in. The room smelled faintly of coffee and old books. Awards lined one wall. Family photographs covered another. There was something comforting about the place. It felt honest. Unlike the house I'd left the night before. Mr. Martin sat behind his desk. What brings you here? Without saying a word, I placed the briefcase in front of him. He opened it slowly.